I think it's common to think of strength coaches in all colleges across the country, primarily as males who often resemble weightlifters. That visual is not accurate all of the time, and our guest reflects that. Known as Coach Jack, Shannon Jackson is the Director of Strength and Conditioning for Olympic Sports at Jackson State University. She joins us now on BNC. Coach Jack, thanks so much for your time, and with all due respect, you certainly are not the picture that comes to mind when one thinks of a strength and conditioning coach. So tell us how you got to this point.
At first, I want to say thank you guys so much for having me. Just a little bit about myself. I graduated from Auburn University. I have a bachelor's degree in exercise science and a master's degree in exercise physiology. So it's pretty safe to say I knew I wanted to work in sports-related field or exercise-related field, and I did everything as such to actually get to where I am. I've only been at Jackson State for about a year. I got here in April of 2019, but prior to that, I was serving as an assistant director at Alabama State University for about 5 years. I think in August of 2018, I really kind of started to consider my career and the opportunity for longevity in this field. So I really took a hard look at myself. And for that year before going to Jackson State, I just really focused on my personal and professional growth. And from there, the opportunities just started to flow. So much so that I went from limited options to now considering what's the better option, what's the better opportunity. I had the opportunity to attend the NFL's Women's Careers in Football Forum in February of last year. And in attending that, I got to meet several GMs, several head coaches in the NFL. And from last year of being a participant, I'll actually be a presenter this year, later on in December. Wow. So like I said, the opportunities have just been coming. I thank God for all the blessings and all the opportunities that have come to me. And I love it here at Jackson State University. I've worked really hard as far as excelling on my career path and just growing myself professionally, so much so that I've also created a network that all the opportunities just come from that network. Really, to be honest, what I did learn is it's not about so much as who you know, but it's who you know and who actually speak up for you. So putting your name in those conversations is very important.
Well, I mentioned it's not really a familiar sight to find women in your position. So considering that, what comes to mind?
Hard work. Like you got to keep your head down and you got to grind it out. I think from the previous NFL forum that I went to, Sally Clavelli, she basically said, I'm not good to be a female, I'm good because I'm good. And so when I put myself in those rooms with those other men, I'm normally the only female in there, but I basically take the entire feminine part out of it. I don't even let the kids call me Miss Jack. They do that all the time just to bother me. But I make myself known in the room. I demand the room. I command everybody's attention. So even when I'm in a room full of men, you'll never know. I'll never stand out.
Well, Shannon mentioned that she received her bachelor's and master's degrees from Auburn University, her master's coming in exercise physiology. So, Coach Jack, were there any major roadblocks on your path to getting where you are, whether that was sexism or perhaps any other hurdles that you ended up having to overcome?
I'm fortunate enough to where every position that I've been put in and every opportunity that I've received, I've never had to deal with those issues, and I feel for anybody who has. But the best advice I could ever give is to just always have thick skin. Understand that men will be men, and understand that, especially not only as a female but as an African American female, there'll be that a lot will come our way. Like we have to work hard. We have to work twice as hard. I've never experienced anything personally, but I do know that those type of things happen.
So it's good to know that you have not had to deal with some of the sexist behavior that at sometimes can be prevalent in the industry. What is the most rewarding part of your job?
Oh man, to see the kids win, and not only win on the court, and I'm not talking from the competitive standpoint, but I'm just saying see them win overall, see them win in life, see the success stories when these kids graduate, and when they accomplish things that they never thought they would have accomplished. To see the overall growth. I don't have any kids, but I now have players that have went on to become married, who've given birth. I know recently one of my former athletes who was first pick was the overall first round pick in the NFL, Titus Howard. Him and his wife, she was actually a softball player at the time. They actually just gave birth to a very beautiful daughter. So just to see these on a level that they probably never thought they would have ever accomplished.
All right, so Coach Jack, do you ever sense how much you inspire the players, men and women, when they see a black woman in your position? Can you actually feel that inspiration?
All the time. I get so many more calls now from not only my athletes, but athletes who reach out via social media, athletes who go through their strength coach at their institution just to kind of see if they can get in contact with me. And one thing I'll say is I know I work for Jackson State University, but I'm open to any athlete that ever wants to have a conversation and sit down to know what it really takes to get into this position. A lot of my athletes now, I actually have a former soccer athlete who is she actually decided to pursue her master's degree at Auburn, and she went into the exact same program that I did. So I recently just took her all of my old classwork from when I was in school at Auburn. And then I also have a men's basketball captain right now who is a current player. He's in his 5th year, so he actually also just enrolled into the strength conditioning program, master's program here at Jackson State. So I mean, I feel it, I see it, I inspire it. I'll talk to anybody about it.
So I have to ask, who's the one that tests you? I mean, there's always at least one who's almost like the class clown, or tries to test you to see if you're up to the task. If so, how do you handle it?
Okay, so I probably will say that happened more frequently in my first few years, with me just being new to the field and getting my feet wet in it. But now I am fortunate enough to say that is a rare occurrence when it comes to me. What I learned is just in being at Alabama State for about 5 years, I basically was there from the time kids were freshmen to the time they were seniors. So most of the time, whenever that does occur, it's probably a newcomer who has not quite got used to me and has probably never ever been spoken to in some of the ways that I approach things from a female standpoint. So they probably never ever been coached by a female, and so what I find is when that does happen, most of the time I don't even have to handle it anymore. What will happen is the upperclassmen they take charge, and it's almost like I have a team full of bodyguards. They don't allow anybody to get out of line with me, and they make it known that this is one person that you will respect because she cares about you more than just your sport. She cares about you as a person as well.
Well, of course, we are in the age of COVID-19. What's been the biggest challenge when it comes to planning and executing those plans for these student athletes in this age and era of coronavirus?
Just making sure that the kids know just exactly how important it is that they do the right thing. I know for myself, I make sure that I mask up. I make sure that I stay away from huge social settings. But that's also because for a while, with a lot of coaching changes, I was the only person in this capacity. So if there was ever a student to either experience symptoms or actually get ill, then I would also have to quarantine too if that were the case. Fortunate enough, Jackson State is fully confident in our strength conditioning protocol, so we haven't had any instances of student athletes catching COVID while they've been here. But just making sure that they know that if even one person comes into the weight room and they weren't social distancing or they weren't taking the necessary precautions, then that could shut down that could completely shut down the entire strength and conditioning department for 14 days. Now, I will say, as far as just communicating with the athletes, that has not been a challenge, only because I communicate with the kids regardless of whether they're here, whether they're not. I know even across campus, I might be thinking of an athlete, and I'm the coach that I FaceTime, I pop up on you. So even before the student athletes were allowed to come back, I was still FaceTime and still calling constantly the same way I would as if they were here.
What about the task when you have a new coaching staff that comes in? They have to learn how you work, you have to learn what they like, such as what you will experience with Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, and the football team this year.
Whenever that occurs, it's more so a level. The communication has to be at a higher level, higher than it's ever been. Only because, like you said, they don't know me, I don't know them. So the communication is important, and just making sure that everybody is on the same page as far as their job titles, responsibilities, and duties, and what the expectations are. I think with strength and conditioning, it's important to understand that at the end of the day, we're just support staff. So whatever a sports coach decides to do with their team, you can always provide your professional opinion because it is backed by certifications and education. But at the end of the day, you have to respect the decision and the direction that the coaches want to go. But also with the level of trust and relationship building, that's how you get on the same page as far as, this is somebody I can trust. I don't have to worry about what happens to my sport when they get in front of Coach Jackson. I don't have to keep tabs on that. I know that my players will get stronger. I know that they'll get faster. All right, and I know that they'll be more disciplined when they leave the weight room.
All right, so you mentioned the NFL earlier. I know that Scott Pioli, the former general manager for the New England Patriots and former assistant general manager in Atlanta, has been a big part of women in sports and bringing more women into football. Is the NFL a goal? What is the ultimate goal for you?
The ultimate goal is to work on a professional level, but not only am I open to the NFL, but I'm also open to the NBA as well. Football, basketball, those are the sports that I love to coach. So ultimately, the goal is to make it to a higher level, and then at some point, as life goes on, I begin to settle down and things like that, I would like to come back to the collegiate level in the form of a athletic director or a senior women's administrator, something of that sort.
All right, so last thing, and I'll let you go. What do you think young women, girls that will watch this, will think when they see you and realize that they too can be in your position?
The possibilities are endless. You have to know it. You have to, not only do you have to know it, you have to believe it. The one thing that I do tell women in this field is, if you see yourself doing anything else other than this, other than waking up at 5 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning, other than being full of energy 100% of the day, even when you may not emotionally or mentally or physically feel like it, if you see yourself doing anything else, that is what you need to do, because you have to be fully committed, fully dedicated. You have to understand that people will question you. They will test you. You have to be thick-skinned and not take anything personal. And then it's your responsibility to always stay current, always stay on top of your game. Nobody's going to sugarcoat anything for you. When you come into this profession, you have to be ready. That's all I'll say.
Shannon Jackson, Director of Strength and Conditioning for Olympic Sports at Jackson State University. Congratulations, continued success to you. You're a real inspiration to all of us. We appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us here on BNC.
Thank you so much.